The government has released a statement welcoming the advisory opinion of the International Court of Justice issued today in The Hague in respect of the legal consequences arising from the policies and practices of Israel in the occupied Palestinian territory, including East Jerusalem. In the advisory opinion, the court found that the state of Israel's continued presence in the occupied Palestinian territory is unlawful under international law. South Africa was among 49 United Nations member states who delivered a statement to the ICJ in February on the matter. The advisory opinion also concluded that the state of Israel is obligated to bring an end to its unlawful presence in the occupied Palestinian territory and to cease immediately all new settlement activities. To expand on the legal ramifications of this ruling, we're now joined by international law expert, Professor Swart, and she joins us now via our video link. Professor, thank you so much for your time this evening. Let's start off here. What is your reaction to the ICJ ruling that we saw today?
Well, it's a very positive ruling. It's a ruling that is not entirely new. We know that there was an advisory opinion in 2004 on the legality of the wall or separation barrier that was erected by Israel. And in many ways, it's a similar kind of opinion. But this opinion goes beyond what that opinion, stated, which was that the wall was illegal. This opinion states that Israel's occupation is illegal. And it asks Israel to, stop building settlements in the West Bank. It asks Israel to make reparation. It asks other states to stop assisting Israel. So it goes, it goes quite far in emphasizing the illegality of the occupation.
And for Israel, what does this essentially mean, especially considering, their rhetoric around the issues around Palestine and, of course, Israel? What does it mean for Israel itself?
Well, unfortunately, it probably doesn't mean enough to them because it's an advisory opinion, which means it's non-binding, which means that there will not be hard consequences should they ignore this opinion in the same way they ignored the wall opinion in 2004. However, there seems to be broad agreement among experts that this judgment will be useful on a number of levels. For example, it will fortify the call for sanctions and boycotts against Israel. And, this could be an effective way of putting pressure on Israel to stop its genocidal policies in Gaza, for example, and just its overall discriminatory network of practices. This judgment is also useful in the sense that the ICC prosecutor can rely on it. Should he, prosecute Netanyahu and Gallant and other senior officers for the genocide occurring in Gaza. So it has that legal weight. It can be used as precedent. Of course, the concern is that the situation on the ground will most probably not be affected by this judgment.
I was about to ask you and say that, essentially what you are saying that as much as we see this ruling, but it really doesn't propel an end to, the occupation of Israel on Palestinian territory.
Yes, well, the judgment asks Israel to immediately stop building settlements, and it asks it to evacuate all current settlers in the West Bank and the occupied territories, which is extremely unlikely. I mean, I will eat my hat if this happens, in the foreseeable future. But it's an unambiguous statement of the highest international court. It cannot be ignored completely, and certainly, it will make it very difficult for Israeli lawyers to continue to rely on highly technical arguments justifying the occupation. For example, using security arguments to justify the occupation. The court has very clearly stated this occupation is illegal and no security arguments can be used to justify it.
How important is this ruling, when it comes to the war itself, what's taking place on the Gaza Strip, and also how important is this ruling for international law?
Well, first of all, as I just stated, the major concern is that it will not impact on the force and the aggression being used on the ground in Gaza. Over the last 10 days, we've seen Netanyahu basically on a killing spree. We've seen about 500 civilians dying over the last 10 years. Sorry, 10 days, just 10 days. So it's not impossible that the judgment might even embolden Netanyahu. We've seen him completely ignoring other ICJ decisions, for example, the one that South Africa brought. So it's extremely unlikely that it will make a difference on the ground. However, it will, put pressure on other states not to provide weapons to Israel, not to assist them in any way, because this is part of what the court ordered, was that assistance to Israel is now also illegal.
What does this ruling also then say? I mean, you are speaking about sanctions that may be imposed by other nations on the likes of Israel. But what does it also say then now when it comes to the support it has enjoyed from the likes of the US as well as from the UK?
Well, unfortunately, it doesn't look like the US's position will change because of an ICJ ruling. We know that in the US, there's a fierce contestation between Biden and Trump. And, neither of those candidates have really assisted the Palestinians so far. On the UK side, there's a glimmer of hope in the form of the new foreign secretary there, who seems to be sympathetic to the cause of the Palestinians. But whether that will, result in the UK putting pressure on Israel for a full ceasefire remains to be seen and doesn't seem highly likely at this point.
All right, Professor, thank you so much for your time and for your contributions on the show.